Hello everyone, so today I'm going to talk about Harold McGrady from Total Drama Island, Total Drama Action, and Total Drama World Tour. He's different than the other two that I covered for various reasons, and I felt like because he's a nerdier character, he will show a different side to traditional masculinity as to whether he follows it or not. Like the others, I'm going to analyze Harold's appearance first and what we are supposed to get out of it. Harold, of course, is wearing glasses, since glasses are seen by the media as something that is dorky, smart, or both, or it adds that to a person, and Harold definitely fits that. He has hair that is about shoulder length, or a bit less, and I think we are supposed to see him as somewhat helmet-haired, though he doesn't wear a hat, and unrefined with how his hair looks. Harold has very little stubble as a beard, and I think the fact that they went out of their way to make a struggle beard or struggles stubble shows that he is trying to be seen as masculine traditionally, but it's not coming off well. People on the show usually have a full beard or stubble or nothing at all. Harold also has very large ears, and that's been used in the media to make people look a lot more dorky. When you look at his clothing, you see Harold is wearing a long pink shirt that covers his arms. The t-shirt he is wearing is a blue shirt with green outlining at the sleeves and his neck. There is an icon on his shirt, and I thought it was a burger for the longest time, for like several years, but it could be Saturn or another planet. His torso is clearly made to be as thin as possible, to the point where his head has more width than his entire torso and shoulders. Of course, this was due to him being the geek, and they're generally made to be thin, and making him a bobblehead, meaning a big head with a small body, exemplifying that. He's just wearing generic green pants, but his shoes are huge! I found it a bit odd that they made his feet so pronounced, but I guess that they wanted to make him look more clumsy, since people with big feet are generally seen to be clumsy. With his normal outfit, it is different than the other geeky characters like Noah and Cody, who have no glasses, so he has a less quote-unquote normal look, and they have a preppier look, which means he is lower than even them on the popularity/attractiveness totem pole. Harold wears a bunch of clothes throughout the franchise. His audition has him in his Boy Scout outfit, and it still fits him, so it shows that he got a teenage outfit and that he's still heavily involved in Boy Scout by the time of his audition tape. Harold's swimwear is nothing special, as he's just wearing generic dark green shorts, but he is wearing his shoes. I mentioned in my break video that he did it to feel larger and more confident, and I think it's the same case with Harold here. With his nightwear, he is covered up in long yellow pants and a long yellow sweatshirt, while wearing light purple slippers, and the slippers are supposed to be represented as bunnies. Bunnies are often seen as very feminine, so Harold has a lot of balls and confidence wearing them, and it shows that he also embraces some feminine traits as well. Everything about his nightwear is about comfort and warmth. What I found interesting also is that throughout his nightwear, there are logos of a horse and a rider all throughout it. So it shows that he likes heroism as well, and action too. Harold starts wearing a lot of hip-hop aesthetic outfits from the TDA special, and once he is eliminated in World Tour, stuck on the aftermaths, we see this a lot more. It is a bit weird that he decided to take more, appropriative elements with his growing confidence. His first outfit has him wearing some sort of a Marvin Gaye hat, and he's wearing a yellow jumpsuit and is wearing silver chains while wearing orange sunglasses or just glasses. Throughout the aftermaths in World Tour, Harold decides to keep the hip-hop elements in his Drama Brothers outfit, but it is much closer to his natural outfit as well. He is wearing a very dark purple/black beanie and a general t-shirt with the same color, but his long undershirt is blue. He has black sunglasses, or normal glasses, and is wearing a long gold chain. It seems like by the end of his journey on the show, Harold is able to combine both elements perfectly and is who he is, while assimilating and enjoying non-dorky things as well. So now it's time for me to talk about the traits that Harold has that does show masculinity in a positive or in a traditional way. So the first one is that he is obsessed with his honor and code. A lot of the stuff that I got with this entire section of him was from his biographies throughout his 3 seasons. So he went on the show in the first place to test out his intense scout training skills, as he got the most badges out of everyone at Possum Scouts, which is mentioned in his TDI bio. He is seen wearing his Cub Scout outfit in his audition tape. He mentioned it again in his TDA bio, and states in his TDWT bio that his code of honor is one of his best qualities. Harold always wants to do the right thing in general. The biggest example of this is when Harold quits World Tour in episode 3, as he feels like he is doing the honorable thing, since he lost the challenge for the team in the 3rd episode due to his horrible idea and not wanting to let Lashana down. He didn't want anyone else to take the fall for what happened in that episode. The second trait of Harold that I think exhibits masculinity in a good way is that he is an individualist and not a follower. Again, most of the stuff was mentioned in his 3 bios, but we see some of it executed throughout his time on the show. He has a strong belief in believing in himself, has a strong will, and is seen as a noble warrior, which is mentioned in his TDA biography, as he never doubts his confidence and is generally not someone who follows anyone around to be seen as cool on the show or in his life. Harold never lets the others stop him from being himself, even when he is bullied and taunted by people like Duncan, Jeff, and Heather, and even Courtney at times. Either 3 of those people who either need followers or have shown to be followers throughout their time on the show. All of them but Courtney, essentially, either needing followers or are followers themselves. He has unexpected skills that are lame in high school and to other teens, but are cool on Total Drama, which is mentioned in his TDA biography, and we also see this throughout the show. We see this throughout his time on the Screaming Gaffers and the Killer Bass, where most of his teammates continuously doubt his abilities, skills, and weird interests that most teens don't do, but it almost always helps them out. Harold has an older brother and sister who both think that he is weird, and his classmates think that he is dorky. But that doesn't bother Harold, and thinks that it wouldn't be the case on TDI, which is mentioned in his bio for that season. This shows that not only does he not have many friends, but he's not even close to his siblings. But it doesn't seem to bother him too much, and he doesn't want to convert himself to be like others, just so people can leave him alone. He's strong enough with his own character that he can do his own thing. Another trait that I noticed of Harold's is that he is very romantic and believes in tradition. He states in his TDWT biography that 10 years from now, he will be married to Lashana, and states throughout TDA that he's actively working on his courting skills, showing that he sees the value in flirting, approaching a woman, and the entire romantic process. Chivalry in this element is clearly a priority for him. Harold is very close to his mother. It is mentioned in the 10th episode of TDI that she sews Harold's name in his underwear. And he also says in the TDI special that he hopes that Lashana can move into his mother's basement when they are 30. Also, in the second TDWT Aftermath episode, his mother donates $200 in order for him to clean his family garage. Harold's name is Harold Norbert Cheever Doris McGrady V, meaning that he shares the same name as his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and his great-great-grandfather. Clearly his family shows and respects tradition, and this is a manner in which they do it, or at least one of the manners that they do it. Ironically, there is no mention of his father at all, and he does mention divorce in the special regarding Heather, in the TDI special, But it could also indicate that maybe Harold's parents are divorced, so he's speaking from common knowledge. Either way, he doesn't seem close to his father. Another masculine trait of Harold's that is very noticeable is that he has a healthy soldier/knight fighter mentality, emphasis on healthy. It is mentioned in his TDWT bio that his favorite color is battle brown, his favorite movie is Master of the Spears Trilogy, which is a spoof of Lord of the Rings. His favorite food is Medieval Steve's Medical Camp Stew, which I am assuming is because he believes it gives you character and discipline. And his favorite memory from childhood is defeating the troll commander at Medieval Steve's medieval camp, while the latter has an asthma attack. Harold even knows how to joust and ride horses like a knight, which is mentioned in the 5th episode of TDA. Teamwork is a huge thing for Harold, which we see in the 11th episode of TDA, as he wants the entire team to work together during the military challenge. Him and Duncan have this mentality for most of episode 22 of TDA, as they put it over their conflict with one another. Another great trait that Harold has in this regard is that he is very intelligent/worldly. Harold, in his final episode as a competitor, overall is just thriving while in Japan and showing his knowledge of the Japanese culture. He does it too much, but it just shows how genuinely interested he is in other cultures, and if he lasted longer in the season, we would have seen that more and more. He is shown having interest in psychology, as he states in the TDI special that he reads his sister's psychology books. He is very smart and is shown throughout the franchise to have a bunch of random but thrilling and useful skills that don't come off as conventional, but shows off his wide range of skills and smarts. Someone who is diverse in his skill sets and knowledge and does it well shows that a person is very smart. As we know, he went to several programs from Boy Scouts, he is just as one as in his audition tape, to all of the Steve summer camps. Mentions that he's good at bow and arrow and compass reading in his bio. He's mentioned figure skating, which is why he was able to dodge so well, and shows off his flexibility. Figure skating is also something that guys generally don't do, but there is a certain cultural prestige to it, especially with Canadians. In episode 5 of TDI, he shows that he's a great beatboxer, and it wins them the challenge. In general, Harold really appreciates hip-hop, though there is a whole nother conversation about white people doing hip-hop that I could delve into, but I don't feel like it right now. And it ends up having a successful music career based off of it. He shows off his skills regarding hip-hop and beatboxing throughout the world tour aftermaths. Like the other two that I've previously covered, and essentially everyone else I will ever cover, there are some unfavorable characteristics that Harold has in regards to masculinity. The main one is that he's very over-dramatic and over-exaggerates. Harold over-dramatizes events in his life, which we see several times throughout the show, especially in his TDA confessionals, where he thinks something is more drastic or dramatic than it really is, or he's better at something than he is. His brother thinks he's a drama queen, as there's one time where Harold stubbed his toe and waited in the emergency room for 13 hours until a doctor told him that his toe didn't need to be amputated. So Harold thought that he needed to amputate it. This was mentioned in his TDI biography. Him being overdramatic is why he's not close with either his brother or his sister. One instance of him being overdramatic is when he meets a snail that he claims looks like Lashana in episode 22 of TDA, and when they have to say goodbye at the end credits, he is hugely dramatic about the entire situation and is bawling his eyes out. Also, throughout his time on the show, Harold says, "Gosh!" a lot of the time throughout his time on the show, whenever he's pissed off or someone insults his intelligence or he is stressed out. It's just something he does that is very unnecessary. This next unfavorable trait of his is a huge one that you can't even deny. This one is that Harold doesn't have the best hygiene or cleanliness. Episode 10 of TDI is all about how unsanitary he was, as his teammates trying to teach him a lesson, as he denies several times about the nastiness he exhibits. The episode starts with Harold leaving his worn panties on the floor, which he denies, despite no one else wearing those types of underwear and his name being on the underwear. And he eventually confesses at the very end of the episode that it was him and that he will stop. Harold also picks his nose throughout the franchise quite a bit, especially early on, though it does tone down a lot as the series goes on. Of course, he's doing this quite a bit throughout the first few episodes, and I wouldn't be shocked if he did it here and there in action. But it does end up being toned down, so hopefully he learned that it's not a good thing to do. Or to at least use a napkin to pick his nose and to throw it away. Of course, it is mentioned that Harold is allergic to several things, but people also pick their noses out of boredom or being nervous. So it could be a bigger problem as to why he does pick his nose. Another unfavorable trait of Harold's is that he has a huge ego. Harold believes that he is a love charmer and a charismatic player at times, which he mentions several times throughout TDA, as he thinks Lashana, Heather, and Gwen are in love with him. But ironically, he doesn't actively seek out to be a player, and he doesn't want to play all of these women. He just thinks they're all in love with him. Due to this, he somewhat encourages the player element to suit his own ego, even if it's something he doesn't exhibit himself. As he tells Beth in his elimination episode that playing with the field is the best thing to do, though he never exhibits or executes this himself. His ego really annoys people in his third season, as it not only causes them to lose the challenge in Japan, but we see a clip of him pissing people off in a huge montage over his time throughout the show on the first aftermath that season. It is sadly his defining trait throughout his time on World Tour. And even in the special preceding that season, Harold's huge ego causes the breakup of the Drama Brothers, as he feels like he is the star, should branch out on his own, and decides to record his own solo album the same time the other three are recording their second album, releasing his autobiography, and Harold had to be humbled by that experience. He didn't come off well at all. So, my concluding thought is that I do think that overall, Harold is a relatively good example of masculinity. He has a lot of the traits that exhibit or represent masculinity, but he does not have the appearance of one. He is not physically strong, buff, or defined, does not have the best posture compared to some of the other men, and is not seen as conventionally attractive. But it is not the appearance where it all matters, but what's within is what matters. Harold loves teamwork, but is also fine with being on his own, and doesn't feel the need to be a follower, and is secure in himself, his skills and talents, and interests to thrive on his own path, while also supporting others, and not needing to put others down to make himself feel better, or to bully others. Harold's backstory is quite sad, to be honest. We only know that he shares his name with his father, and his siblings don't really like him, and that's always hard to deal with growing up, though he had his mother's love, so he was a mama's boy. He was not popular whatsoever, and people never really took him seriously, because he was in touch with his emotions, talents, and was not doing the teen consensus of what teens like and should be doing. Harold wanted to diversify his talents, get into psychology, and not only love the cultures of the past, hence his huge love for the medieval era, but he also learned to understand and respect cultures that are not his, mainly with the Japanese culture, from what we have shown. Others make fun of his uniqueness and uses it to make themselves feel better about their own masculinity, which will eventually be covered in their own videos. He represents faith, perseverance, confidence, never gives up, being a good person, and wanting to bring out the best in others. Harold loves love and wants to be a great partner to Lashana, where it seems like he wins her over eventually after they're both booted in World Tour and are on the aftermath. So, good job for the both of them. Of course, there are times where his confidence and knowledge turns into arrogance, as he sometimes acts like a know-it-all, which is not only not masculine and shows a lot of fragility, But Harold usually bounces back from it and never lets it take control or turn him into a mean or evil person, unlike some people on the cast. The Drama Brothers was not a good look for him initially, as he tried to be the Michael Jackson or the Justin Timberlake of the group, and screwing things up for all of them, and pissed people off in his final season. But Harold seems to find a balance and made the honorable choice to quit, not liking when things were going and feeling like he screwed up. And the booger picking is absolutely atrocious. There is no other way around it, and him having allergies is not an excuse for it. A 16-year-old knows better than to pick their noses, or to at least use the napkins while doing it. Harold has a lot of heart and generally wants to do the good thing and actively works to be a good person. So, there is that.